roll call.
I sure can. Commissioner West,
Present.
Commissioner Harden,
Present.
Commissioner Lefkowitz,
Present.
Commissioner Brown, Commissioner Cole, Commissioner Greer,
Present.
Commissioner Jester,
Present.
Commissioner Khalil,
Present.
Commissioner Knight, Commissioner Yu, Interim Director Batchelder.
Present.
For Metro staff, we have Capri Harston and myself, Vivian Fox. And then we also have Metro Legal, Miss Laura Fox.
Thank you, Vivian. The Metro Arts mission. We believe that arts drive a more vibrant and equitable community. We strive to ensure that all Nashvilleians have access to a creative life through community investments, artist and organizational training, public art and creative placemaking coordination, and direct programs that involve residents in all forms of art and culture. And next, we will move into our land acknowledgement. Hello, Commissioner Brown. Metro Arts stands and holds space on the unceded and sovereign lands of the Cherokee East, Yuchi, and Chwanwakee peoples who have stewarded it for generations. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will. Some were drawn to leave their distant homes in the hope of a better life. And some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. We acknowledge we are all standing on ancestral lands, and we honor the thousands of enslaved African peoples whose lives were physically and spiritually stolen. We pay respects to elders, past and present. Metro Arts invites you to join in our commitment to knowing our Native communities in more meaningful ways in alignment with our restorative arts practice.
Chair West, and for roll call, Commissioner Brown is in attendance.
Thank you, Vivian. Welcome, Commissioner Brown. Thank you. Okay, Vivian, do we have, actually, next slide, please. We do have a new staff member to welcome. Sydney Ortiz, our new grants coordinator. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. I just wanted to say thanks, and it's been really, it says always on. Okay. And I've been in this role a little over a month, and everyone has given me such a warm welcome, so it's been really great. A little bit about me, I'm a social worker. I just graduated with my master's. I've worked in a variety of settings with different people, working on equitable programming and building relationships along the way. So I'm excited to do that here with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sydney. Welcome. Okay, now moving into public comment. Attendees of the public just a reminder of the policy. Comments are limited to 20 minutes total and 2 minutes per person. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
We do not have anyone signed up here in person for public comment, and we did not have any public comment submitted online.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're moving into item C, approval of the minutes. Hello, from May 20th, 2026.
And while those are read over, Chair West, Commissioner Cole has entered the room as well for attendance.
Welcome, Commissioner Cole.
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Jester. Do we have a second? Thank you, Commissioner Khalil. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. The minutes are approved. Okay. Are we leaning into a finance? Yes, thank you. And now we have our financial report, and that is coming from Capri Harston.
Well, good afternoon, commissioners, staff, and friends. The July 2026 financial report, as we closed FY26, the department is pleased to report that we ended the fiscal year in a positive financial position, reflecting sound financial stewardship and responsibility through our budget management. Careful monitoring of expenditures and thoughtful resource allocation throughout the year truly enabled us to conclude FY26 in the black while continuing to support the department's operational priorities. Now, fiscal year 27 begins with some added challenge of incorporating the required 1.5% efficiency savings into our operational budget as seen on page 457 of the FY27 budget book. Despite this reduction, the department successfully aligned available resources with anticipated expenditures throughout our strategic planning and by exercising a very disciplined FY26 budget. Now, as a result, we are supporting the department's core programs in FY27 while maintaining our commitment to our financial management. Throughout the fiscal year, we will continue to closely monitor our expenses to make any adjustments where necessary in order to preserve the department's financial stability. And I thank all of our central Metro partners that helped us to make this possible and helped us achieve this goal. Now, additionally, you will find in your packet our actual monthly Metro Arts financial overview. If you would look that over, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know, and I am happy to address those.
Thank you so much, Capri. Does anyone have questions about the finance report for Capri? Okay, thank you, Capri. This is exactly what we've needed to see, so really appreciate that. Okay, moving right along into item D, our action and discussion items. First on the agenda is our Public Art Committee update. Jilla, Commissioner Khalil, chaired for me in our last public art meeting. I could not be in attendance. So Jilla, Commissioner Khalil, will you present the public art report, please?
We took two action items. One was in Mariposa. Thank you. We had two action items that have been on our agenda for some time that have been discussed and worked through. The first is the Mariposa project that Masonio is going to talk about, and the second is our public arts guidelines. So Masonio will speak first.
Thank you, commissioners. Thank you for your time. I am Masanya with the Public Art Team, and today I'm coming to you with an action item for the approval for the Mariposa Public Art Project for the budget and the scope. Mariposa has been in discussion with both parks and arts offices for over a year now, just to see the possibilities of what we can do on site. And so we have kind of decided what we're going to do there. And a little bit about the project site itself, the park. The inception started in fall of 2022 with Parks Board approved project formally adopting the name, which translates to butterfly in Spanish. This park is located in District 30. That's going to be in the southeast region or part of Nashville, kind of on the cusp of the Antioch area, with the council members currently Antoinette Lee and Sandra Sepulveda. with a 44% Hispanic population, with Spanish and Arabic being the most spoken languages in the district after English. This community holds a lot of multi-families as well. Supporting area studies for this project and park have included the Nashville Next, Nashville Parks and Greenway Master Plan, and Metro's 2022 Walk and Bike Plan. Mariposa is now a 10-acre neighborhood park located again at 140 Tusculum Road in Southeast Nashville. It officially opened in Saturday, July 11th. And then Mariposa here cuts off right here, but that kind of gives you a little insight to Parks' strategic plan and their mission to create more vibrant parks and spaces for underserved communities. So the project site that we decided on is going to be here at this, right now it's a concrete pad, but we want to transform it into a place, a communal place where the communities can come and they can celebrate. It also kind of gives like a center stage feel as well, but we also wanted to provide some type of shelter from like the inclement weather and the extreme heat conditions. So this will be a permanent art, which will be centrally located inside the Mariposa Neighborhood Park. Blending functionality, creativity, and sustainability, this art will border the park's ADA concrete slab, making it a prominent meeting space for visitors while providing outdoor shading elements. This is a 30 by 30 round base, and its space, it can take up about 40 occupants. Next slide. So that's just giving you a little bit of area view of the concrete pad. You can see the ADA, and then adjacent from that is going to be the kids' playground, and then on the other side you're going to see the pickleball area, and then this is also showing you too just the vantage points here where that kind of that presence is going to be. It's going to be centrally right there, the focal point, surrounded by the playground, surrounded by picnic tables, and also the pickleball and the basketball court as well. And then just some more views of the playground itself, and then also the Mariposa paved path. Thank you. And so when you look up at this staircase, it's transformed now into something really, really beautiful. They have shrubbery, they have plants. It borders around the staircase, but as you go up, you're going to be able to see what the future public artwork will land and where it will be at. So really is going to be a focal point and a communal space for all the visitors. You should be definitely able to see it as you come out of the parking lot and go up the stairs. All right, and a couple of examples of the possibilities and some things that we could do. So this is Resilience, aka Grass Dome by artist Sean Orlando. This is at 5 Points Park in Norfolk, Virginia. This was commissioned through the Public Art Program in 2022. The artist budget for this was $140,000. Now keep in mind that was in 2022. And the specs for this is 22 feet in diameter, 13 feet height, and then the material for this is just steel and weather resistance coating and cement. And then we have another example. It's going to be Singing River by artist Ronaldo Correa at the Manatee Minerals Park at Brenington, Florida. This was commissioned through the City Community Redevelopment Agency in 2023. The artist budget for this was $370,000, and if you look, obviously the budget did increase for this just because they took up more space on that site. The specs for this is about 23 feet in peak height and about 60 feet long, and the material was just simple metal and painted aluminum. All right, so the fun part. So the eligibility for this professional artist, and that is also defined in our public art guidelines, and that is simply a professional artist being 18 years of age with the following qualifications: at least 2 years of visual art exhibition history, or at least 2 years of commissioned visual or public art. The artist commission budget is going to be $375,000. This is coming from the Percent for Public Art funding, and this would include some things, but not limited to community engagements, design development, overhead and operating costs, fabrication costs, all project-related costs, lodging, traveling, installation, insurance, contingency, site modifications, and any other project-related costs the artist may incur. The exclusions for this project are going to be any form of kinetics or electricity, as the operating hours would create challenges for us effectively, both in meaning us, parks and arts, for monitoring and troubleshooting outages and programming issues. And I mean, there's so many other ways that an artist, a professional artist, could explore patterns and shading and lighting to create those different elements without us having to go and do kinetics and electricity and programming. The Metro partner is going to be Parks and Recreation, and immediate timeline for this is going to be the request for artists qualifications, or AKA RFQ. That will be released in August of this year. We will have that up for 1 month for artists to submit, and then we will follow that with a community selection panel between fall and winter of 2026. And if we do not encounter any unexpected setbacks that directly impact the project's timeline, full installation for this project should be done by 2028. And I also wanted to point out this area and near the site, it does not have any electrical outlets. So this is truly going to be the people in the art to be able to transform this space. And am I reading that?
The Public Art Committee recommends approval for the Mariposa Public Art Project with an Artist Commission budget of $375 and regional call for artists, which you did not go over. If anyone has the questions, it's the states bordering Tennessee.
Thank you, I did. If we want to go back to that slide, that was a good catch. That was a good catch. So I will read it out. It's definitely on there. That's the big part. Thank you. So this will be a regional area call. So it's going to be Mid-South. Will be accepted from current artist residents of Tennessee or the listed bordering states: Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi, Missouri, North Carolina, and Virginia. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
So if you want to do a motion to open discussion.
That's what I was waiting for to come up. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the Mariposa Park Public Art Project with an Artist Commission budget of $375,000 and the regional call for artists' qualifications.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Cleo. Questions and discussion? Thank you, Ms. Anya.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Questions and discussions from the commission? You know I'm looking at you.
Okay. Okay. All right.
The Public Art Committee has discussed this
We have.
Several times, and so, Ms. Anya, thank you for all your work going into this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. That's all I got to say.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Anya.
Well, thank you for your time, y'all.
The second thing on the Public Art Committee that has been gone over several months is our additions, changes to the public art guidelines, which was one of the things that Masanya just brought up as well in the definition. And Ann Leslie's going to take it over.
I'm going to present, yes. Thank you, Commissioner Clell. Good afternoon, Commissioners. You may recall that back in December, the Commission reviewed and approved recommendations from the Executive Committee for updates to the Arts Commission's bylaws. Well, we have another important governing document, the Public Art Guidelines. The Public Art Committee, whom we call the PAC, has been reviewing these guidelines over the last 6 months. Earlier this month, the PAC met and took action to approve the updates to the guidelines. Today, I'm presenting those approved updates to you as a recommendation from the Public Art Committee. Next slide, please. For those of you who are newer to the commission or not on the Public Art Committee, a brief introduction. The Public Art Guidelines were developed in 2000 when the Percent for Art Ordinance established Metro's public art program and the funding that made it possible. The Public Art Ordinance amended Title V, Revenue and Finance of the Metropolitan Code of Law. Within that Section 510, it pertains to public art financing. It states that 1% of the net proceeds of any general obligation bond issued to fund construction projects is to be set aside to fund public art. That is what we call the Percent Fund, or the Percent for Public Art Fund. Next slide, please. Created by Metro Arts staff working with Metro Legal and Metro Finance, the guidelines outline the policies the Metropolitan Nashville Arts Commission will follow to administer a public art program on behalf of Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County. The original version of this document was based on review of existing guidelines from established Percent for Art programs from across the country and tailored to applicable laws as well as Metro policies. The guidelines are subject to periodic review and revision by the Public Art Committee and the subsequent approval by the Arts Commission. This commission approved updates in 2012, 2015, 2020, and 2024. While we have made updates for clarity and to approve the process overall, the guidelines have served us very well. The public art team, Atelio Murga, Masanya Osei, and I have recognized that there were sections of the guidelines that required updates for clarity, both definitions and processes. Several PAC meetings have included discussion about the guidelines. With new leadership at Metro Arts, Interim Director Ashley Batchelder and Finance and Operations Administrator Capri Harston, along with Macy Amos and Kelly Woodward from Metro Department of Law, the guidelines have received a thorough review and with fresh eyes. In addition to updates for clarity, there are also some recommendations that align these guidelines with other Metro Arts policies, including things like the Metro Charter and Arts Commission bylaws. So you have both the red lines in front of you and a handout, front and back page, that is an overview of those changes. The public art guidelines have 13 sections and 7 appendices. And so if you can use this sheet, and you can see that we have made some changes to some of the sections, but of course not all of them. And I'm going to just go over a few of these that I'd like to bring to your attention. In the Section 3 on definitions, we have added some definitions and amended some definitions. This is something that I think is always going to happen. Our program evolves, and there are new words that we need to have in our vocabulary. So we have artificial intelligence. Generative artificial intelligence is an added one. We clarify the Percent for Art collection, not just the public art collection, as well as give some greater clarification to public art and selection panel. In this section, we also correct the guidelines in order to align them with the current bylaws. We are now an 11-member body, this commission. Previously, we were 15. In Section 4, the Public Art Committee, this is perhaps the biggest change in the guidelines, and that is a change to the composition of the Public Art Committee. When I started, there were only 2 commission members on the Public Art Committee, 2 members out of 15 members on the full commission. And ours is a committee that from the beginning has had community members, which isn't quite perhaps an accurate term, but because of course the commission members are community members as well, but non-commission members as well as commission members. And so in an interest of having greater representation on the commission from the Public Art Committee, we would have taken steps to enlarge the number of commissioners on the committee. It went from 2 to 3, and we're now proposing that there be 4 commissioners on the Public Art Committee. This will mean a change that we will reduce the number of community members, but we still see them as a very important part of the Public Art Committee. They are able to bring in expertise that we might not find on the current commission, whatever that makeup is, and allows us to, bring in those specific kinds of skills that we need on the Public Art Committee to review our projects and our work. I'll also direct you to Section 10 on funding. This has, as we did our work, we also, recognized that more detail needed to be included in some ways and less detail in others, but we wanted it to really align with the way we do our projects, and so this is more closely aligned with that. It also, we've had conversations about having, internal kind of manual, a document, working with finance, that we can have more of the details. This is, a policy document that does not have to have all of the details, but certainly it provides some greater clarification that was needed. So that's, Commissioner Khalil, that's the overview.
So that we recommend the changes to the guidelines as detailed in the red line updated version. And I'd like to make a motion to approve the recommended changes. Sorry. Will you go back a slide? PAC recommends to approve the recommended changes to the public art guidelines as detailed in the redlined updated version. I'd like to make a motion to recommend the changes, to approve the recommended changes to public art guidelines as detailed in the redlined version.
All in favor? I'm sorry. Now we can move into discussion and questions. So Ann Leslie and the team, Attilio and everyone have been working very diligently on this for many, many, many months. So do you all have any questions regarding any of these changes? Commissioner Harden? I'm sorry. And then Commissioner Lefkowitz.
Yes, thank you, Ann Leslie. I'm just curious about the changes to the site preparation for the funding. And I guess I really just am curious to know, but is this considering it would come out of the artist's budget, or is this?
You reference the page, just
sorry,
to make
page,
sure I'm on the
page 9. I guess it would be on the application of public art funds, where it looks like you changed it from kind of that part in A, now it's in B. It's at the bottom of the page and kind of goes into the next page.
Yeah, just to tell you a little bit about how we set up our projects. The budget that often is promoted, just like with Mariposa, is the artist budget. And that's, an all-inclusive, fee and the contract details, all the things that are required of the artist for that. But there's also costs that Metro takes on associated with the project. So we have our project management costs, which we think of as 15 to 20% of the artist budget, and as well as site preparation costs, things like bringing electrical to the site, any kinds of work like that we might need to do that are site prep. Those are ones in addition to the artist budget.
Okay. So, sorry, I'm just clarifying, using that other project, so you would have 15 to 20% you could spend if necessary.
Exactly.
And that would come from the percent fund, but not out of the artist budget?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Cool.
Correct. And, you know, we all know that there are some projects that require more than that, but if that's the case, we would come back to this commission, the PAC and the commission for approval.
Trey,
Thank you.
I think what would help you real quick is that language should say any materials necessary for the installation of the artwork are not included in the artist contract.
Gotcha.
Right? Instead of and not included.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So that would clarify your question that they're not included in this. And I guess just a point of, did I go before anybody? Okay. Just a point of clarification is that after we approve, right, this goes to Metro Legal for final, oh no.
Actually, Metro Legal has reviewed this, so they are comfortable with all these changes.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Lefkowitz.
I wanted to say I'm grateful that the language around artificial intelligence has been incorporated in, and I was curious about the process for generating that language, specifically the phrase about using AI to interpret prompts. Not to get in the weeds about it, would that include, in your mind, like generating ideas and things like that? Kind of just I guess I'm curious if that was meant to be kind of an all-inclusive bucket.
Well, and for that, I'm going to have to defer. I hope my colleague is here. Attilio, can you come up here? I don't think you guys want me to. Attilio has done the most kind of work on this.
Can I stand? I don't like sitting down. Can you rephrase your question one more time? I just wanted some clarity. What I took it that even generating ideas?
Yes, the definition says art produced by autonomous or semi-autonomous systems that use AI to interpret prompts
Correct.
and generate imagery and sculptures. And generating imagery and sculptures seemed like very clear.
Correct.
Using AI to interpret prompts, I was wondering if that might include like generating ideas. I mean, I guess I'm asking if that phrase is meant to just kind of be more all-encompassing in terms of the process.
At the end of the day, yes, because one thing is that what we want is original work, right? We want original creativity. And not only that, to get into the actual physical, creation of it. Most of this language, to answer your question, is how did it get to it? Comes from actually, and for those of you who are writers, know this, writing right now and publishing and people who are, trying to develop manuscripts, they're the ones that are being affected the most out of all artists right now. Because literally you put your book up on Google, someone takes it, you throw it in an AI prompt and it changes it, right? So then you just start tweaking little ideas and it will generate new ideas for you, right? So that's not art. And I'm more than happy to follow on that sword all day. So yes, it would be all encompassing without getting too much into the weeds.
That's very helpful. And I think that's absolutely right to look at publishing as a precedent kind of for that. So thank you.
Okay, great. Anything else?
Could you provide some clarity on the decision around composition for the PAC, specifically the decrease in community members, like it's cut by half?
Oh, that would be,
Back to me.
but I could answer it.
Thank you. Yes, so we currently do have 7 members. So we're not cutting, the overall number. The interest was just in changing the balance of the Public Art Committee so that we have greater representation on this body, having 4 members out of the 11. but still, we still, see the need to have community members. So this felt like a compromise, not, getting rid of those non-commissioned members entirely, but finding some way to make a compromise.
Can you provide like some context around the deciding factors for that? Like, I guess the imbalance, has that been problematic in the past, or I guess what are we trying to circumvent with the balance piece?
Well, I mean, we got some guidance, received some guidance from Metro Legal, as far as having, community members, at all on the Public Art Committee. And so there was some, consideration around that. But then, as we, started thinking about, just that representation, it felt like having more commissioners made sense in that we want commissioners to chair a meeting. We didn't want to get in a situation where we're meeting quorum, but we have, more community members than commission members, and we always want to have a commissioner who can chair the committee as well.
That's helpful. I guess I'm thinking through the eyes of advocacy and engagement. If the purpose is to strengthen positive reputation with the community, just wanted to better understand why are we cutting the community by half? Because that is effectively what the numbers represent in terms of that specific portion. So that clarity is helpful.
Well, and we have, been kind of moving in that direction recently. We did, in 2024, it actually grew both the number of commission members and community members. But because we have had some vacancies, it has recently been an issue with quorum. And so, yeah, this is now kind of sizing it so that it's in alignment with other committees while still providing us with the representation we need on the commission level, but also those skill sets that are required of public art projects.
And last quick question, how are the committee members chosen? The community?
Yes, so that is, those are appointments from the chair, but staff make recommendations, do the research, kind of identifying based on these guidelines. There's, it offers, a number of different kinds of individuals that would be appropriate and would be helpful on a public art committee. So we, review what the current makeup is of the public art committee and identify what additional skills that would be helpful on the committee and make recommendations to the chair.
Commissioner Cole, we would love to have you on the PAC committee.
Thank you, and Leslie. And if I might add, in the sense of what you had said, committee size, kind of right sizing everything across, but in terms of public art, when we're looking at skill set, let's say we have 4 commissioners and one of those is an architect, then we would not have an architecture need on the skill set side in terms of one of those 3 community members. Does that make some clarity?
Yeah, I understand that. In terms of skill set, my question was more so around the number, because if the purpose of the committee, given the historical and reputational context of the commission in general, is about the public and community, to me, it's a bit of it just raises a question of then why would we cut the community by half, especially if there's the overarching kind of guardrail that the commission is choosing the community members anyway. It's not like it's in like an open, process. So there is still some governing, deciding from staff and commissioners anyway. So I think I understand wanting to make sure, with absences and quorum and all of that, that there's a good balance. But I think just overall, that's kind of where my question was, more so around why we're cutting that part by half, if that's directly connected to the purpose.
It totally makes sense now, thank you. And I think we also went from a commission of 15 to 11. And then we always want to have a majority commission in terms of votes. We want to have a majority of commission members and then the community members that fit that. but I totally see what you're saying. But I would think a good bit of it has to do with us. Yeah, we had to kind of right-size all the committees last year.
I do think it's worth pointing out on the selection panels, it's the commissioner who would be serving, if I'm correct, is not voting. So and the chair. So that's kind of really where we can get more community input. I think usually you all might reach out to like a council person and have recommendations for those specific projects. So going through that process, it is like truly the people who are deciding, the artists, and we're just there to kind of guide them through the process, which is like the fun part of the PAC stuff.
Thank you all. Any other questions for Commissioner Khalil or Public Art? Any other updates? Well, I have, I guess, two.
After the vote,
Yeah,
I have an
sorry, we have to vote. But any other questions? I thought I saw a question, Camille. Did you have one? No? Okay. We have a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. And congratulations to the Public Art team. I understand Amber Lelly has been nominated for a Coda Works Award, which is super exciting. And the New York Times article came out about Lending Library with partnership with the library. And so if y'all haven't seen that, check that out. It's, yeah, New York Times Lending Library. So, and then Amber Lelly is in the running for a Coda Works. So, yay.
See, come to PAC, man.
Everybody
We
vote.
do great work in PAC committee.
Yeah, see, Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
And Leslie, you got one more?
I do, and this is very, very quick update. Chuck, if you'll go to the next slide. You all may recall that in March, the commission approved a process for relocating bike racks in the right-of-way at the request of property owners when there was an agreement to cover those costs. Well, it came up pretty quickly, and the soundboard sliders by local artist Duncan McDaniel was sitting at along 12th Avenue South, and that site is currently being redeveloped. Because there wasn't a full commission meeting and there was an executive committee meeting, we were able to bring that to the executive committee and get approval for the removal and storage, and that's where it is now for the bike racks safety. That is not a normal practice that we only go to PAC and executive committee. We always like to go to the commission, full commission for approval for things like this, but fortunately the bylaws do allow in these kinds of situations where we can go directly to the executive committee. So that's what we did. I'm pleased to say that the artwork is being cleaned and repainted, so we are talking with our fellow Metro partners about a new location along 12 South. So it will be reinstalled, and we also were on Reddit, which was kind of exciting. So there was concern for the bike rack. So we love it when neighborhoods embrace the public art in their communities. And so there was concern, but we were happy to be able to report it is being cleaned and will be coming back.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, moving into our, let's see, into our executive committee update. We're going to swap and do the executive director next steps first with the action item, just with the consideration of time, and then the executive director annual evaluation presented. That's already been, it's gone through the executive committee, and now it's just here for you all to have, and it was also included in your packet. So, okay. Next steps on our executive director search. I want to give y'all some context and kind of how we've arrived here, because as we all know, we didn't have a full commission meeting in June. Prior to this meeting today, you all received the recording of the executive committee meeting from last week, giving context for what we're doing here today. So hopefully you all were able to watch that and have some basis coming in. The commission is the authorizing body about everything about the search, timing, decision-making, and so this is where we are as of now. HR has been able and willing to do the search. I want to make that very, very clear. It has been a matter of the lines of business and the timing of that. So, but I do want to say to our HR team that we have a great HR team and they are ready when to execute the search when it is time. We've, just so you all know, because obviously I'm the chair and I want you all to know that we've been over the last year meeting with HR several times, touching base about where we are, what we're doing, what the work's doing, and just kind of staying in the loop on that. We've been in communication about the timing. Ashley's been great about the workflow and honestly about commission readiness. The workload for the staff and Ashley over the last year has been monumental, to say the least. Everything is steadily improving. I think we all know that, but I feel it's important to underscore the commission's responsibility, and that is this. Our responsibility is oversight of our core services and programs. The conversation about the timing of an ED search has been ongoing since before Ashley was here, as we all know. When I said we could start a search in May or June, or that we were discussing that, Ashley let me know that commissioners, excuse me, and others, thank you, began asking questions about what is in the workflow, what's the timing, and so that's really why we're here today, all of us. As chair, the executive committee asked for options. You all have been asking for options, so I kind of felt like a brief timeline would be good here to kind of catch us up to where we are now. So in May, the executive committee discussed concerns regarding the timeline and questions around the ED search in an effort to support the agency and staff and to, you know, provide continued stability from where we've been and where we are and where we're going. Excuse me, y'all. I'm sorry. And again, excuse me. For the June, so obviously in June 10th, we had an executive committee meeting. And the EC at that point had requested options regarding the ED search from both legal and our HR team and determined additional clarification was needed and regarding like the options and the time frame. We just needed to know what the options are for the commission. So that's what took us there. So following that request, I met with HR, legal, and Ashley to learn all the commission's options. Our June large overall meeting, commission meeting, was canceled but due to quorum. And so, I don't know why I'm sneezing like this, y'all. I'm sorry. It's gotta be. So last week, I'm very thankful to our HR team, Director Shannon Hall, Rochelle Jones, and Lisa Mason for attending our executive committee along with Macy Amos and Kelly Woodward from legal. We all met last week. And so, gosh, water. So the point of that meeting was to provide information to all of us regarding the ED search in a legal way and an HR capacity kind of functional way. I want to restate again, HR is not, it is not at any fault here. There's actually not an actual delay as the interim director is not time bound and has been always determined by the workflow. So every time we've discussed this, it's been determined by the workflow and the department needs. Commissioners and others, along with staff, many staff have asked about the consideration of deferring the search to ensure that the capacity grows, that the continuation of the work can go on and the workflow is staying where it needs to be in terms of the timing that Ashley will touch on. I do want to acknowledge that as chair, I've had the most communication with everyone and others may not have had the same updates, and that is because of the position that I'm in, but this is where we are in terms of the executive committee's recommendation to you all. The conversations, like I said, have been ongoing for the last year. And I think I'd like to kind of leave y'all with this in terms of what we are responsible for as commissioners. The commission is responsible for the oversight of all the lines of business of this department. It's because of this that we need to ensure all of our decisions, including the timing of this search, supports the stability, the continuity, and the progress that has been made over the last 18 months. So, the deferment option moves us forward without jeopardizing the work that has been done and the operating and functional needs in terms of the workflow. Ashley will speak to, but I also wanted to take a minute and introduce Laura Fox, who is here with us. Laura, welcome back. Thank you for being here. So Laura's here today in lieu of Macy. And then also from HR, we have, let's see, Shannon's here somewhere. I think she stepped out, and Director Hall, and then Rogel Jones, and then Lisa Mason. So both are here for questions from commissioners. Obviously, legal is here to speak to the commission's legal options, and then HR can take questions about functional pieces, the functional pieces of the job. So with that, Ashley, I'd like you to kind of give some background on where we've been, and the priorities moving forward are what's driving the timing. And I think it's important before you get started is when a search begins, so let's say the search was gonna start in July. That would mean that all the documents have been done, the job description, all the packaging, and then the search begins. That actual piece from when Director Hall comes here is 3 to 4 months. The lead up to that is about 3 months. So you're talking about a 6-month process or so. So in the last year, if you look at those 6 months, there's not been a good, stable place to interject this. And looking forward, Ashley will speak to more of that. So thank y'all for being here.
So before, y'all have the discussion, I thought some context would be helpful about what I see as priorities when we look forward. And the context for that I believe is important to underscore, and Chair West referenced this, of course, but the workload of the last year has been quite monumental, is the word that I used last week in executive committee. And we are, of course, in a different position than we were a year ago. The pace of work, the quality of work, our actual workloads and working environment has been steadily improving over this time, but there is still so very much to do. And so from where I sit on the operations side, I know that it may look like, I've been here in the interim capacity for a long time, but it truly doesn't feel that way in coming to work every day, knowing what the workload is and what there is still at hand to do. And so I say that because it's always been about finding that balance of the work that's gone into stabilizing and addressing past challenges while also simultaneously maintaining our core services and doing so at a scale that is larger than this department has ever had in our actual services. And so with that, I want to name what I see as priorities of the department and commission as we look ahead right now. And I wrote these just in a simple list so that you can follow along if you want to pass those out with what I'm naming here. So the priorities when I look ahead, the public art manager position, this is our final leadership role to fill. We were working on this and we paused for a little while, and we are in a place to start looking at moving that process forward again. So this would look like having this role filled by the end of the year. Next priority is the FY27 grant cycle. This is the grant cycle that we are currently in. Grants is our highest volume program, and just running a smooth cycle remains a top priority. We have stability on this team with 2 new staff members that have both started within the last 6 months. And so I want to really underscore the importance of the current team going through one cycle together.
the FY28 grant cycle. So that's our next grant cycle that we are already talking about our planning activities for. And you have heard me say that FY28 is the year that we will get back on the optimal fiscal year schedule. And so, you have heard me say that we are still not on schedule. FY28 is when we will do that. This process for us begins in September for FY28, even though we're barely into FY27. The audit is the next priority that I've listed. So following our June 2024 audit, we have always known that there would be a follow-up audit in the ballpark of about 2 years after. So we've been prepared for the audit to happen as early as this summer. We have received recent information letting us know that late fall will be the earliest that it will happen. And of course, I look forward to this process and working collaboratively with our partners in the internal audit office. Next, I named continued organizational development work with the commission and with staff. So far, most of this has been staff roles, but this one, the commission plays an important role in too. So as we have continued to move into greater stability and capacity, the need that many of us have identified for more strategy and alignment work becomes more possible. The commission will be an active driver in this, and the work that we do through the executive committee, the work that we are doing as we're rebuilding the advocacy committee in partnership with our other committees as well in grants and public art. And the work that we're doing on the staff side supports this as well, including our processes for grants-related engagement, our work plans and priorities that are set within our team structures in our new organizational format and chart, and partnerships that we are working on. And we've also named a need for restorative work, both internally and externally, as part of this sort of big umbrella of organizational development work. The last priority that I've named here is an office move. We have identified what Metro Art's next home will be. It's going to be December before the earliest that we move, and so it's still a while off, but we know that will be happening when we look ahead. And so this is not an exhaustive list, of course, that fully represents all areas of our work or our ongoing projects or priorities within each program. Rather, these priorities that I named are the ones that I believe are essential for our team to continue working on together, bringing the institutional knowledge in the context of the last 3 to 5 years of everything that's gone on in the decisions and processes that we live in daily right now. And so on what I just handed out, I've included some benchmarks of things that we've accomplished or made progress on during the time that I have been here, staffing, onboarding, progress on 5 grant cycles, public engagement, legislation, and so you'll have those details there. Of course, it is not an exhaustive list of everything. And so my intent of sharing those priorities, of looking ahead, is to underscore that while we have done so very much in the last year, we are still carrying very heavy workloads, still balancing getting out of where we've been while building something new and improved, while still running and maintaining our core services at the high level that we share a commitment to on our teams of how we do our work. And so that's just sort of the context of the operations side that I wanted to provide for your consideration for the discussion that you may now have. And so I'll give it back to the chair.
So we have a recommendation. The executive committee recommends defer the beginning of the search for an executive director for a period no less than 18 months. To move in discussion, we need a second. Thank you. And then the motion, defer beginning the search for an executive director for a period no less than 18 months. Is it all? The motion is to defer beginning the search for an executive director for a period no less than 18 months. supposed to be a second.
With the second from Commissioner Khalil, yeah.
Commissioner Cleel, second. All in favor? And then discussion, and
Who made the motion?
I did. I made the motion, and Commissioner Khalil seconded. And now we are open for discussion and questions.
I have a question.
And, yeah,
Well, in regards to the first part of the public art manager and hire, and my question is, the commissioners and staff are also part of that decision of hiring, or like, well, not hiring, but interviewing the people who is applying. Well, it's because like I see the commissioners as part of comparing to an with a nonprofit organization. So do we have access to the list of people who are applying, or who is only the people who are the people who are deciding? Who I know is HR, the directors, and probably staff are involved with that too. So I just wanted to clarify how that works, just quick. In general, except the ED and any staff of the Metro Arts.
Yeah, so the commission, I'll start at the top, right? So commission, I am your employee. You employ the executive director, or, whoever is in this seat. The executive director is responsible for all staffing and personnel of the department. And so based on, the organizational chart of who the hiring manager is, so for the public art manager, reports to the executive director. And then, so that's, and it's potentially different for other positions if whoever the positions report to is the hiring manager for that. So it's the executive director that does the process, puts together interview plans, recruitment plans, and is the hiring authority there.
And then that is also shared with HR and the staff or commissioners? No.
So it's not typically shared with commissioners. Staffing and personnel is the responsibility of the executive director. And it's in, through the HR processes, we all have every position has a HR representative that, opens the recruitments, receives applications, provides those names, the applicants to the hiring authority. Does that?
Okay. Thank you.
And just for clarity, Commissioner, your question around the executive director, though, the bylaws, and I believe this is where Chair West was starting, the bylaws give the commission, so not the mayor, not staff, not HR, sole authority to appoint and employ the executive director. So the executive director, it's not a civil service position. There's an HR process, but this body makes the decision about the process, makes a decision about the appointment, makes a decision even about like the scope. So it's the commissioners that are sitting around this table for the executive director. Staff, then that jurisdiction sits with that person that this body determines is the leader of the agency, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Greer.
Yeah, I have a question. Just curious about the rationale behind 18 months specifically. Is that when we're thinking certain benchmarks will be achieved? And then also, I know I'm thinking about, obviously you're probably thinking about timelines so that it's before the next fiscal year and there's timing for that. Is there a plan or intention then that this commission will revisit at some point before the 18 months?
Oh, you got it, Trey. Yeah, because I didn't know if we wanted to call him.
I think we kind of touched on this in the executive committee meeting about kind of specifically like these priorities and how they relate. I think we couldn't bake that into the motion itself or the action, but it is on our list, I guess our new business list for next executive committee meeting to specifically talk about how we hold ourselves accountable to these like kind of things and not wait until we get to that 18-month period and just say, where are we now? But kind of creating a way, we talked about like reports of some sort. Like we used to have a report where each department would go in and kind of update, give a status update. So we haven't like officially determined how regular that could be. I think that's something we're hoping to nail down as we kind of move into discussion. But sorry if I'm speaking over, but I think the intention, and then also about the 18 months, I know we worked back, you know, just trying to think about the fiscal years for the grant cycles, and then, you know, triggering it so it's not, you know, that's not the date where there is a new executive director that's in place, but that's when all of this starts. So we recognize there might be a need for time for the search to happen. Also, transition time so that, you know, there's a peaceful passing of the torch, you know, if the torch is passed. But yeah, that's kind of my interpretation, but I'll let you all add.
I'll also say, when we talked about the timeline, and we've spent a lot of time rightfully talking about the workflow, but we also talked to Commissioner Harden's point about a process. We've talked about commission readiness as well, and we have work to do to come together to identify kind of values, high-level goals that would guide the search, and we haven't really done that. And so that also is part of that 18 months in addition to the workflow piece. So thinking about the accountability for us to do the work so that when we initiate the search, we have coalesced.
I have a question. Just to clarify, maybe I missed that part. So from those 18 months, when is the start, from when to when?
Understood, Commissioner Yu. I think it maybe at this point, could I ask Director Hall maybe to come up, and since I think the majority of this commission has not been through a search before, so I think to your question, so let's pick apart the motion, right? Defer beginning the search for an executive director for a period no less than 18 months. That would mean that the search would begin at that 18 months. So you're talking 3 to 6 months from then. But I'd like everyone, Director Hall.
And may I just add, just for plain language, just so that we're all speaking practically, what this motion says is that nothing starts for another 18 months. That's the motion. Yeah.
Thank you, Director Hall. Thank you for walking us through things. Thank you for being here again. And again, if you all don't know, Director Hall?
My light doesn't work. Can you hear me?
No.
Is it on? Okay, great. Hi, everybody. I'm Shannon Hall. I'm the Metro HR Director. Some of you have been through the Arts Director Executive Search with us. Some of you haven't. The good news is I've done it a few times now. So we have a very well-oiled process, but I'm trying to talk a little bit about this motion in center, and I can answer any questions. If I have information, I will share it with you. We have a very well-executed kind of framework that we move through for executive searches. We have done this in the past. We do this for all Metro directors, certainly also for the Arts Commission as well. In this particular case, the search would be deferred for 18 months, and at that time, we would reach out to whomever the chair was and start initiating the kind of pre-prepping to then bring to the commission information so that you could see this is the timeline for the search. This is the proposed job posting. This is the marketing piece that we'd like to do this. This is how we, getting any feedback that you may have. I sometimes would get that in advance. I do want to give a nod to Commissioner Lefwitz because this is advice I have given in the past a few times when, honestly, for any Metro Border Commission that hires an autonomous executive director, we have about a dozen, maybe 15 here in Metro that are kind of organized in the same fashion. It's really important that the commission or the board come to consensus about what they're looking for out of the next executive director so that they are giving a clear vision of what they're looking for, and that person can help them build a strategic plan once they get there and really move this whole process forward. I have found in my experience that when there is not clear consensus about what a board or commission wants out of the next executive director, that it then gives very mixed signals to the executive director, and nobody can perform successfully if they don't have clear vision, clear alignment, clear support from their board or commission. So I give that as my primary strong advice, and I think I think you guys are absolutely capable of doing parts of that work as you are starting to shape and come to consensus on that, but I think it's really important. And that kind of feedback will be really helpful for us so that we're framing the job appropriately when we go out to market. We will involve commission members at different parts of our whole executive recruitment process. This process typically takes for us about 3 to 4 months. We do try to have robust touch points throughout, but you're going to see in writing a full timeline and the efforts that we're doing. The commission will be apprised of that in advance in a public meeting just like this. We would present all of that information. So you would have all of it. You will know exactly who's moving through the process. You will know who will be serving at different points through that process. And then as we narrow through that process, finalists will be presented to the Arts Commission also in a full commission meeting. So you will have final interviews, full commission. So you guys will get to influence parts of the process. If you had any suggestions about where would you want to do outreach on the front end, local, state, national organizations that may have membership that would be highly qualified for this job, we want to do that outreach and set it up all on the front end. If there are particular questions or topics that you want considered as part of the recruitment process, we're going to make that offer to you, say, hey, send it to us, and we're going to incorporate it through the process, especially when we see themes from different commission members. So we're going to help to get a lot of feedback from you on the front end through that process. You'll have a full written outline of exactly what step is happening throughout the process, like with weeks aligned to it. We are really good at staying to that timeline. The cleaner we can stay to that timeline and stay within the parameters, and the more efficiently we go through that process, the more good candidates we get through that process. Sometimes these people are employed by other organizations. So our ability to try to maintain that confidentiality through that process, even though we are pretty open record all the time, we try to move pretty efficiently, I think, both to keep good candidates in the search and also to respect highly qualified candidates that are throwing their hat in the ring. And then we'll present them to you guys. You guys will have interviews. We will help then you guys facilitate in a way that doesn't identify which members are voting for whom, but really help you reach consensus. And once there's consistency about like a preferred number 1 candidate, hopefully then maybe a preferred 2 or 3, then we would go away and help facilitate that offer behind the scenes. We would help make sure that the salary was within your budgeted time frame. So we'd make sure we're working with Capri on that, make sure it's within your budget, make sure it's within the what we call the director pay range that's appropriate for this position. I would deep dive all of our great benefits, leave options, et cetera, a lot of things that would help to facilitate, and then we would facilitate a mutually agreeable start date for that person. I typically would be working with the chair on that part too. So I want to make sure, even at different parts of this process, different commission members will be involved so that you can have insight, buy-in, and validation to parts of this process. I do so in a way, though, that doesn't trigger Open Meetings Act. So I'm going to use several of you in strategic ways so that we can continue to move through this process in a way that doesn't trigger Open Meetings Act until the very end when we have finalists interviewing in front of you. So I wanted to deep dive because I want you to know it is robust. We do this often, and we're prepared to do it. So, and you guys are a priority, right? I know this is something that you guys have been contemplating. Obviously, stabilizing the department has been the most important priority, and I think that needs to remain the priority. But when the commission is ready and has met the strategic goals it needs operationally, and then consensus with the commission, we are ready to try to prioritize you within our schedule as quickly as we can for an executive recruitment process. So if it's 18 months, where we're going to reach out, expect within 30, 60 days, we are sitting in front of the commission just like this with all of those materials outlined, and then expect about 3 to 4 months later that you'll be having finalist interviews. And then my hope would be within 4 to 6 weeks afterwards, you've got a new executive director starting, And if there needs to be any kind of crossover training and pass off of the baton, that would be with the interim director and the permanent director.
Chair Campbell, I have
And then Commissioner Brown, and then Commissioner Yu, and then Commissioner Cole. Great, thank you. Is your question for Director Hall?
I have a question for her.
partially, but you go ahead.
Yeah, no, you go first. You went first.
You go ahead, and then
Yeah,
Commissioner
okay.
Brown, and then Commissioner Yu, and then Commissioner Cole. Do you mind? Okay, thank you.
All right, I have a comment and a question. My comment is just that for cohesion of everything that's going on, I am in support of this 18-month deferment. But my question is, given where Metro Arts was when I joined Metro Arts Commission a couple of years ago and where it is now, it doesn't seem like it's a fair thing to just assume, and maybe some of us aren't, but it sounds like we are to some degree, that we should just assume that bringing on a new executive director would be the best move. In fact, I think it's probably a 50-50 that it might not be a better move. And so I'm wondering if there's an HR reason or a legal reason why, if we have somebody who's doing the job well and if they are willing to continue doing it, do we even have to do an executive director search?
I would say first and foremost, that is a legal question. Yeah.
Yes, legally, there's no reason that you have to do that. The code doesn't outline a procedure, and so that's within your discretion.
I think so. I mean, is there an HR reason why we couldn't do that? And I'm not suggesting that is what we should do, but it is certainly a question given the fact that we could hire a brand new executive director and then it not be the best move, not have been the best move for Metro Arts. Why would we? Yeah. Is there an HR reason why we shouldn't or couldn't do that?
It's a complicated answer, I would say. So I'm acknowledging that most boards, like we have 50+ metro departments, they are very, very different. 50+ lines of business, small, medium, large, right? And very different organizationally. Some of those positions do require a search process. I'm acknowledging that most of the autonomous boards and commissions that hire an executive director, while the devil is in the details, depending on how it is outlined, usually in the Metro Charter or Code, most of those have the same discretions that have been legally provided to you by the Department of Law. So from an HR perspective, does this discretion lie with other similarly situated autonomous boards and commissions that hire an executive director? Most of them are similar to that legal option, I would say. You know, if that's meeting the objectives that are outlined for your line of business, that person is otherwise performing the functions successfully within meets the minimum qualifications, which she did. That was a requirement for her to become to the interim position. She had to meet the minimum education and requirements. If she is performing the duties and functions of that position successfully, I understand that point. And I think that's something ultimately that the commission would have to decide. I do think it's important for any autonomous board to commission to fairly look at the functions and duties and then properly give feedback of where those are being met, if there are deficiencies. So as an HR professional, and this is true at any line of authority, I think having open and honest dialogue and feedback on successes and opportunities is critical, and that should be happening timely and in real time.
Sure.
So if that is happening in a healthy, harmonious way, then yes, I think that's as important an HR reason as any for anybody performing any function in employment.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, I feel sufficiently answered. Thank you.
My question is in regards to HR bringing in consultants to help navigate the direction of the executive director search that we want, right? So we had a consultant come in that helped us talk to several commissioners, I think all the commissioners around, what we wanted or what the problems were or what we saw best efforts. Is that an HR thing or is that internal? I know we did it internal to Metro Arts, but should that be an HR process that we then, outsource to you all so that we can get the right information, the correct, feedback, and it's given to us in a way as a commission that we can make a decision that then, just lends itself to further open discussion, right? So do you guys, I guess my initial question is, do you guys do consultant work? Do you guys hire a consultant to bring in those?
So, and I think I understand your question.
Yeah.
I would say we are, for an organization our size, we are a pretty modest size HR department. So my staffing resources are very thin compared to other public peer organizations. So we don't typically provide probably that level of development. I do believe that we have on contract a handful of firms that can help to facilitate that types of discussion, leadership cohesion, whether it's internal with a Metro department, externally with a commission. I believe you may have used one of the resources that we had on contract. So I believe that these are some of Metro HR's vendors that could help to perform those services when we don't have those, because they are pretty niche and ad hoc and pretty customized to the group that needs them. So that is the tool that we have for that effort. I don't know that we have the staffing capacity to be able to facilitate that, which is the reason why we have a multi-award to a few different firms that help to provide those services if and when they're needed throughout the government.
Okay, that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Next is Commissioner Yu.
Yeah, in regards of the developing of the qualifications for, the commissioner, what is the time frame that the commission will have for developing those the qualifications and description of the job, or what we're looking for a new ED?
You don't have to develop it. It exists,
Well,
right? Because
yeah.
we've been doing it for decades. I didn't know, I know following the meeting, I was like, what could I be bringing? I can show you the working document of what the functional job is. I thought, oh, that might be helpful. So I printed out copies if that's helpful, and I have it, I can pass out. Minimum education and requirements, those types of things usually are done in collaboration with us. I don't expect, unless you are customizing further, typically you don't necessarily monkey with those unless there's an industry reason to do so, because we want to make sure that we've got this, and we will adjust to the right director pay range, commensurate with the functions and duties of the job. When we look at minimum education and requirements, that really is what is the floor that is necessary for someone to successfully perform this job, right? We do not want to create barriers to access for people that could be considered for the job. So I say all that to say, when you really look at the job functions and the functions of the commission, that should be centered first. And then what would be the minimum education and experience? We already have that. That is a framework. If you changed that significantly, that would need to come to the Civil Service Commission, because this is part of the pay plan, this position, even though it's non-civil service. But the functions and duties, like the things that Ashley's responsible for doing today, those are established. I'm happy to share the framework of where it is today. If there were tweaks or feedback that needed to happen over time, as long as it was appropriate within the confines of the Metro government structure and commiserate with the Metro code that establishes your functions and duties, I think it's in bounds. So that's what I had put together. I was like, I put a copy of the Metro code section that actually outlines like the creation of you all and what you're in charge of. And then I put the functional job description of what this position does behind it, So I'm happy to share copies with the commission. That is actually all that I brought, but
Yeah,
thought it might be helpful.
that part I understand. You have everything.
Yeah.
I just maybe I got confused again when we mention, when we mention like what we're looking for, or what we would like to have, and
Yes.
that is the part that I was talking.
Sorry, yes. Getting a shared vision, thinking about preferred qualifications, right? Do you need someone who is a strong community advocate, or does this person really need to be just helping to support and lead the people on staff that are performing those functions, right? And a shared vision, I think, about like values and mission that is within the framework that is allowed by the Metro Code section that establishes what you do. Yep.
Director Hall, this has been super helpful. Thank you for coming and shedding more light on the process. My question is, what aspect of the process, as you so comprehensively laid out today, involves staff?
Does not typically involve staff because it would be unusual and not an HR best practice that staff should be participating in the hiring of their boss.
Yeah. So just for clarification, a search process can be happening in parallel to operational efficiencies being made within the body, and the staff is not expected to have additional workload because the search process has started, correct?
Correct. We, honestly, that's part of our role. We try to make this very turnkey. We actually have people that came with me today.
Okay, nice.
Rochelle Jones, who's an assistant director of our workforce management. Lisa Mason, who's our talent acquisition and training manager.
Love it.
And then Danny's right behind. He's also going to be helping to support the search. So we would have a full team that would kind of make this turnkey ready for you. So we're going to outline a lot of the process, but we're going to, and there is a lot of work behind each little line. It won't look like that, but we do all of that work for you in support of the successful hire, in support of the commission that hires this position. So there would not be any extra workload. I mean, I will call Capri because I'll be like, hey, I want to make sure that we are not posting something that is outside of the budgeted dollars that is available for this position or the department budget, right? I would never want to get sideways with that. But otherwise, it would not be recommended and not be part of an HR process that any staff would participate with the hiring of their boss. Case in point, while we do this for the whole government, when this position was hired, it was outsourced, right? Because even though these are the functions we provide organizationally, it would not be a best practice for the HR staff to have performed the process or participated in the process to hire the HR director.
And across the 50-plus departments on average, from a Metro Nashville perspective, what is the average interim time frame for a transitional leader to be in that interim role?
You know, it can vary. I will say right now we have the most recent interim, kind of back my way out a little bit. The most recent interim is probably about 7 months.
Yeah.
But the one before that, 2 years. The one before that, 3 years. So it can vary quite a bit, and it really is commiserate on the operational needs in order to move forward. But just a couple off the top of my head, yeah, one's going to be, I think, right out. This latest one's probably going to be, when it all is said and done, probably right at 8 months, and then 2 years, 3 years. So I'm thinking ITS, general services.
Okay, this really is my last question for you. When you say it depends on what's happening operationally, what are some of the things that you see from an HR perspective that would require an interim tenure to be extended at that two? Because I have some data that I'll share with the commission that what you shared is exactly in line. The average interim is anywhere from 7 months to at max 2 years, and generally speaking, a search process is happening in parallel, not after. So that's what generally takes place. But I guess in terms of what's happening inside of Metro Nashville, what are the operational things that you've seen that will require, hey, this needs to be stretched out a little bit more?
You know, it could be all over the board. It could be, sometimes I have seen interims that went on a little bit longer because there were like changes in administration.
Yep.
Like big changes happening with the hiring authority. I mean, that's definitely one, whether it's a commission, Metro Commission or board. or true administration changes and key structural changes. Sometimes you may escalate or slow down a process because the interim is successfully performing the functions and is keeping the lights on so effectively. Sometimes that will extend. So it could vary across the board. But more recently, I've seen them go on a longer period. But to your point about how sometimes those happen in tandem, I do think there is pre-work, like I said, that should be happening with the commission and kind of come to consensus about what they're looking for out of the next director. But because our process is so high and tight, like, I wouldn't suggest it be stretched out over that long period of time because we'll lose all the good viable candidates. I also want to make sure that when we're going to market, we're getting a strong candidate pool, right? My goal is that I'm bringing you a lot of strong candidates, and it's really hard for you to pick. I mean, that's usually my preference if we're doing a search. So that would be my goal, is making sure like we're getting a read on markets. Right now, like certainly there's been a shift over the past couple years. We had been quite a bit of an employer market for a period of time. I mean, employee market for a long period of time. That has certainly shifted more to an employer market, which I think typically works in favor for recruitments in general. And we're certainly see that. We're seeing record numbers of applicants right now across all of our jobs.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Does anybody have any further questions for Director Hall? Okay, I'd like to ask, Laura, do you have anything, or does anyone have any questions for Ms. Fox on our legal piece of things?
I guess just confirmation, when I reviewed the bylaws, what I took from it, I'm obviously not an attorney, but our bylaws don't have, there are no interim or acting ED provisions. There's no search process that's specifically mentioned. There's no voting threshold, so we default to, I think it's Article 8, Section 2.4, majority of members, so quorum. And there's also no term limit. Am I missing anything as far as like what the parameters are that this commission body has for decision-making with regards to the executive director position?
There's very little guidance in your bylaws or your in the code, which I mean is really to your advantage, arguably, to do what you think is best for the commission.
Yeah, I just didn't want to stop the discussion. I've kind of just collated them, so they should be all there.
Any other questions for Ms. Fox? Okay, let's see. Then moving into, I think I heard a few things that I feel responsible to kind of touch on. And we have a motion. This is about, I want us to focus on the motion to defer. And I think that, thank you, Director Hall, thank you. Oh, I have it. I brought mine. Thank you, though. So deferring the search in terms of the line of work where we are. And I'm just going to say it. It took 3.5 years to get to where we were. And it's going to take that much and some to get to a better place. We are there, but it is still somewhat fragile. And after listening to Director Hall, knowing that I understand what I'm hearing is there can be some overlap with staff work, but considering the staff all works together on a flow, I think that the reasoning is very justified. So, Commissioner Khalil.
After having watched the executive committee, I have a much better understanding for the 18-month period, and to Commissioner Lefkowitz's point that this coalescing shouldn't be put in a parking lot, that at every meeting for the next 18 months, we only meet once a month, that we discuss what it is we're looking for, need, want, and that can include that Ashley is stayed based on that. But we don't have a picture of what we want or need because we have been digging ourselves out of a hole, mostly staff and Ashley, digging out of a hole the committees. But I mean, it makes no sense to think that in less than 18 months, we are going to be in a place to, that at least it's going to take us 18 months to work through what is it this commission needs for moving forward. And I think my request would be that it is on the agenda for every meeting, because technically that's only 18 meetings. And if we don't have a quorum from some, then we don't even have the 18 meetings to discuss. And I don't think it should be dropped off onto a committee meeting. It can be discussed with all the committees, but it should be discussed within the full commission to see how we are moving forward. You brought up some great points at the meeting, and benchmarks and keeping up with things, but they don't happen if we don't do anything about them. And that's my request. Thank you.
That was probably, well, the question that I had, and the time frame question that I asked is like, do we have to wait the 18 months, or we need to do it, like before? So that's why I was asking, what will be our time frame for all of us to talk about those things and not wait until the 18 months?
So this motion is a minimum, so this would not begin for a period of no less than 18 months. The hiring process. Mm-hmm.
What you're talking about absolutely begins.
The work would begin now. Mm-hmm.
Regardless of what the.
Mm-hmm. Commissioner Cole?
Yeah, so I want to be, I guess, clear at the top of this. We moved around the evaluation portion of the agenda. So nothing that I'm about to say is about Ashley's performance, and I know that we will get to that in just a moment. From everything that I've seen, she's done a great job being one of the newer commissioners here, a part of this body under really hard conditions, and I know we've heard a lot about that. My concern, and I guess what I'll raise for the commission, is about like what we have and have not done in the past 18 months. So the bylaws give this body sole authority to appoint and employ an executive director. We just heard the process from Director Hall. And generally speaking, just from a context perspective, because I think it's important that we have a sense of kind of what happens outside of our sometimes limited scope. And I mentioned this earlier. So an interim executive position, even inclusive of government, is typically anywhere from 7 months is average. On the long range, it's 2 years. And on that longer range of 2 years, generally, there's a search process that is happening in tandem. We just heard Director Hall mention that. Research around interim, what happens when you have an interim executive, not necessarily saying this is what's happening because we are not at the performance conversation yet within Metro Arts, but generally speaking, right, a systemic review of interim leadership research finds that incoming leadership is usually temporary, thus you see a lot of staff turnover. This is industry data across what happens when you have interim executive leadership. Organizational performance starts to shift, and you also start to see a slow and a blurring of long-term strategic vision for an organization because you have someone in role that is interim, right? And so I think one of the things for us to consider as a commission is a few things, and I want to be mindful of what I've heard today so far. Chair West mentioned that in our May meeting, it was brought to us that, we're working through discussing search logistics. The process may begin in June. 2 months later, we're sitting here. Yeah, 2 months later, because we didn't have this in June. And we're being asked to defer the search process again for another 18 months. And I think that when you look at what our bylaws state, again, and I think this is important because I know we have newer members, including myself, the sole authority to appoint, employ, and provide the scope of the role for an executive director relies with these, 11, 12, what do we change to? Commissioners, right? This body right here. And for the past 18 months, this commission has not exercised the most consequential power that the bylaws assign to us. We have kicked the can down the road on a search process. And I think that I actually appreciate that Chair West bumped back in the agenda Ashley's performance, because I think the question on the table is outside of, is Ashley excellent in the role? That's not the question on the table today. Because I think if we were talking about starting a search, I would be surprised if Ashley wasn't a part of that process, right? I think the question on the table today is, as a commission, are we doing our due diligence to ensure that the interim role is a bridge and not a term? And I think bumping out an interim position for another 18 months, for 36 months, I'm not sure that that's the wisest decision for this body to make for continuity of the commission, not only from a team and culture perspective, but also for what we see that's happening in Nashville and the impact that arts and culture has on a city growing. The last thing that I'll say here that I think is important with regards to how we shifted the agenda today, I think our own evaluation makes the case. So, and I'm just going to quote directly from the evaluation. So the executive committee evaluates Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah, so, and I'm quoting, this is less about the evaluation, but one direct quote mentioned in the evaluation is that there's limited capacity to focus on bigger picture or executive duties. And again, that's not a criticism of our current leader, but I do believe it is a structural implication of having an interim leader in place, because so much of the duties are about bridging the gap, operational efficiency, team hiring, all of the things that we just saw noted on this document, and it's less around executive level strategy of having someone in place. And so I don't feel like I've heard anything so far on the recording or in the conversations today that would make me think that we need to wait another 18 months to start a very comprehensive process that an entirely separate body within Metro Nashville actually leads, not staff. So I think everything that's listed on the document in terms of the things that are priorities, I think this is great. I think the team continues to be focused on this while a search process that, in my humble opinion, is long overdue starts. Would that be extra work if Director Batchelder decides to be a part of the process and then she's also juggling interviews and that sort of thing? Sure, right? But I think when our job is to think about what's best for the commission, and I'm not sure that we are doing a full service by saying we need to wait another 18 months to figure out what we want. I think we need to, at the very least, rethink the timeline and also perhaps think about a better structure. So beyond adding a line item to an agenda, to move a search process for a full-time director down the road. So those are my thoughts.
Appreciate that. I do, especially coming from your professional background. I hear you. And I'd like anybody else to chime in, but and Ashley, you as well. Maybe I could be a little bit more clear. Again, the work itself is not autonomous of Ashley. It is a group team effort. When Ashley came on board, there had been virtually no work moving the organization forward in 10 months. That was an interim prior to this. Ashley walked into a staff that was sorely understaffed. And so I look around this room now, and I see great hires. I see that has come through after, Ashley, you were carrying this ball pretty much alone for the first, not alone, but in terms of no grant manager, things like that, when you came on. And I know that the staff is not involved in the hiring, but here's what is. The staff is what makes the commission. The work they do for this commission and this community, that's what makes the commission. And so while we as volunteers are here to do this job, and bylaws, absolutely, I know these bylaws in and out, so absolutely it is in our purview, so to do whatever we would like. in terms of the legal piece of it. That being said, it would, after all the conversations we've had and that I've had, it would, in my opinion, truly harm the work where we are at this point if you look at the actual calendar and scheduling of why we have not started to date, and because we're not behind. We're not behind. It's up to us. And so where we are now is a place that the work needs to continue, the stability, the continuity, and again, looking at the staff, you know, having that work.
Could you clarify the comment about the work being harmed? Because I didn't hear anything in Director Hall's detail of the process that required a pausing or stopping of the work. She also mentioned a time frame for the search process. I also want to make sure that we are not splitting hairs in terms of this conversation. I think there's a separate conversation, and maybe this is where the clarity comes in. And transparency is a value of mine, so that's all I know. The motion is not about Ashley's performance.
No.
The motion is about starting a search. So my comments are not about Ashley's performance and her fit for purpose for the role. My comments are about whether or not a search needs to be delayed another 18 months.
That's what I was trying to explain, is with the workflow, that is the justification for this. And the jeopardy we could get in, but yes.
But see, I mean,
Thank you.
I understand the workflow argument. I also understand that that I'm not exactly clear. I want to know, like, what you think about the coalescing piece and that piece in terms of starting the search, because that's always been my main priority. I will say, from a workplace perspective, I know, like, grants, which I chair, is that's a heavy committee or heavy load in terms of the involvement of so many of the staff. They have to staff that committee. And so I understand kind of the workflow issues, but my concern has always been more that we don't know yet what we want in terms of these values and in terms of that. And my fear is that starting a search without knowing that will mean that we're not really driving it in terms of finding someone who's in alignment with that. And so that's what I really want. There's always going to be work, and I know I agree with this too about the work is confusing for me. What do you think about the fit piece?
Sure. I think that question, Commissioner Lefowitz, is exactly why a search process needs to start. And it's the question in my mind about why it hasn't started already. Like, I remember when I initially came in a few months in, we were having conversations around committees. And one of the questions in the back of my mind was, why is there not a search committee forming to help inform this process, right? Understand the executive committee's role in this to date. But there are, again, there are no measures within the bylaws by which there's a specific process that we run. So to the question of coalescing, again, I think that's where this isn't an Ashley conversation. This is a commissioner conversation where I think we need to take a long look at ourselves and say, why are we kicking the can down the road for 36 months because we can't determine what it is that we want? I think you made a case for why, while there might be workflow things, generally speaking, an interim is a bridge. It is not, hey, I'm trying to, get to some specific performance rating or outcome to then hand off the work. Now, I think if there's another question on the table, which is, I feel is what I'm hearing is, Commissioner Jester brought this up, why can't Ashley stay and we just make her full-time? That's a different question. But if we're talking about deferring a search, to me, this does not make sense. If the question is about, do we keep the leader we have, let's have that conversation. But the question of, do we wait another 18 months to even start the process, does not make logical sense in my mind with regards to workflow, because the team manages workflow and you open up a hiring process, and Director Hall just mentioned the level of talent, and we see that every day with our clients. The level of talent is high because there are a lot of layoffs that are happening, right? And so you're getting top talent, you're going through a process that's being led by another group. It's not impacting workflow in terms of the staff to where we have more information, we're able to have more practical conversations around what the commission needs in terms of a leader. And so I think because it's been 18 months and we still haven't answered that question, it doesn't make sense in my mind to wait another 18 months to start a process to answer the question of what do we want.
Oh, Jay, I think you're in.
I guess I hear where you're coming from. I definitely think that, we should have been doing what we're going to try to start doing now, to get to this point. But I think even when Director Hall was presenting, we probably should understand that fully by now. But we don't. And that's kind of the reality. So I'm with you. If I remember when we did the interim, hire in the meeting, and I'm like, okay, we need to, but we're still gonna do the search, right? It's like that Princess Leia meme, right? But I feel a little bit frustrated in the sense that, yeah, we're still in this place where we have not started that. But I also know today, as a commission, we're not ready for that, right? But, I think the timeline thing is where we all might see it differently. I know we did do the situation with the consultant, right? And I thought the goal of that was to get to that moment where we're like, this is the thing. Like, this is what we can see, that based off of that feedback, we thought we were going to get to this place where we had a vision, we could match that up with the job description. I mean, we literally talked about that directly impacting what the job description looks like. So it is a little bit frustrating that, now we're at this point where we're not ready still. We've gone through that. It doesn't seem to have been very helpful in terms of visioning for us cohesively. I still don't think that we've actually dreamed a little bit, right, about that. We haven't had that conversation. So I definitely hear where you're coming from about being accountable to what we're here to do and making sure that that is a part of what we're working on. But then I also agree that, we gotta align ourselves better before we start that, because I've seen quite a few directors, and I have seen a situation where an interim was hired and made a permanent director as well. So, everything is on the table, but I think that, I do think we should consider what Commissioner Cole is saying about the timeline. I think she makes some good points. I think hearing Director Hall express the relation that staff is supposed to have with that process is also another reassuring thing that, I look at, okay, what does it mean to be stable? And I do want to feel like things are running well and we're not disrupting, right? And we're not harming, staff and the work in the community. But, so I feel a little bit like, I don't think we're ready today. I do think that we could be ready sooner than 18 months to start that. But I'm not, I don't know exactly when. I don't know what it'll take all of us to come together and do the work that we need to do that cohesive work. Sorry. My dad's calling. Yeah, so I guess, I don't know, maybe that's a discussion we need to have about realistically what we can do to get to this point. And I don't know if that means that we don't vote on this today, or, I'm just throwing this out there, but I think we should talk about maybe what do we need to do as a commission to even make a decision about when the search would happen. But yeah, that's just based off of what you said. I appreciate what you said, because it's a lot to think about.
I also appreciate what you said, and what would very much love for you and for the rest of us to have this kind of motivation about moving into potentially into an executive search process faster. The one thing that I don't think we're taking into account thoroughly enough, especially with the characterization of kicking the can down the road, is just the depth of dysfunction that we were in just 2 years ago. And we accidentally hired an executive director in one of my first meetings. And it was 10 more months of dysfunction. And the reason I'm in support of waiting 18 months isn't to kick the can down the road. It's because I would like to hire an executive director, whether it's Ashley or anybody else, from really a position of strength and health. And we have just, I feel like maybe even just in the last couple of months, found ourselves back in a position where we're actually healthy. And that's not, we've been getting healthier and healthier all along. It's just we ran 2 grant cycles on top of each other because we weren't back to a position where we needed to. And so thanks to Ashley, and we've just gotten back to a point where I feel like we could operate for 18 months healthfully and then make a decision from a position of strength. And other than the cohesion of the goals that we laid out, I'm not opposed to it happening sooner than 18 months either. I would just like to make this decision from the position of health and strength that we've just most recently found ourselves in, and give us a little bit of runway to feel that for a minute.
Yeah, I think Director Hall helped us to understand. Oh, sorry. Helped us to understand. I guess that hesitancy with like where the organization is. I think the strength of a selection process, the strength of an executive director selection depends on the strength of the process. And so the fact that the organization from a staff perspective is not managing that process, they don't have the weight of that, but we have the weight of a very thorough HR team that explicitly said, hey, we're prepared to do it, we're ready. They have a process, they're not new to this work. They have the capability to ensure that we are taking the necessary steps to hire from a position of strength. I think that's one of the reasons why we need to be starting the process. I think if we were looking at a time frame, in my mind, again, my practical mind, in full transparency, it would make more sense in my mind, for us to say we want to have a 9-month search process than to say we want to wait 18 months to even start a process. Like that, I cannot fathom how or why that makes sense. And so I think all of us here want to make sure we do our due diligence. We know we're coalescing around what we need, all of that. And I think that starts with saying, I'm a big fan of the book, Science of Scaling. When you have a timeline for something, you move on it. There's a date, and it's serious, and we have milestones, and we know what we're working towards. But to say in 18 months, we're gonna start it again, I don't understand how this is even a motion, if I'm just being honest.
Ashley or Commissioner Lefkowitz.
One other thing I want to mention is, I think part of the coalescing piece, and this is just, my role here or my background, but thinking about the restorative work, which we've not been able to do, and how I believe that to your point, Commissioner Jester, about the dysfunction, that we feel the weight. I feel the weight of that, and I know that staff does, and I mean not all the stuff, but it's there, and so I think part of whatever discussion we have around the coalescing, I think needs to tend to that restorative piece, which is a drum that I love. I love that drum, and I'll bang it for a long time. And that's hard work, and big. So I don't say this to say either way. I just want to mention it as another piece of what I think needs to happen. I think that's also would be fair to the future version of who we want to bring in, right? To say that we have done that work. We've done the restorative work, and we're not, I mean, we all inherit things from, when we come into situations, but that we are doing all that we can to process our own stuff so that someone else is not inheriting that.
Thank you all. I want to be conscious of time. And I hear you, Commissioner Cole. I hear everyone. I think maybe I could try once more to kind of get this across in a better way. Is 18 months that we've been here. The point of deferring the search is that during those 18 months, the last 18 months, it has been a situation, and those of you that have been with us through this, it was dysfunctional coming into this. And it has taken a Herculean effort on behalf of the staff, including our interim director, to get us to a place where we are right now. Running two at the same time while we are trying to rebuild our capacity in terms of the staff, in terms of the commission. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, especially to your point, Commissioner Cole, is that I guess because I've been so close to it, I can see real jeopardy because of our roles and responsibilities as commissioners sit around this table, our fiscal roles, our fiscal responsibility, all the things. And at 18 months in a I'm gonna say, I hate this word, but normal situation, this would not be the same. But the 18 months leading into this is exactly where we are now. And if you looked at a breakdown of the calendar where the staff is not involved in the hiring or anything like that, but it is all one big piece. So I'm trying to explain it a little bit better. Commissioner Harden.
I have a quick question, and it might be for you, Ms. Fox, kind of legal. By voting today to defer this period for 18 months, legally we cannot take action in between time to repeal that, or is that?
I actually don't think you can bind future commissions. So, I mean, if you change your mind after a couple months and decide, you know what, we do want to go forward, I think that would be legally fine. I mean, you're not offering Ashley a contract or anything like that, any guarantee of work. So I think you can set what you want to do, and I think that if you decided you wanted to change your mind, that the commission could do that later.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I wonder with all of our opinions and all of our thoughts that if it makes sense to even take an action that is gonna restrict us in any way. It's all on the table as it has been, this whole time. So just hearing from everyone, it doesn't make sense to, I don't know, force our hand right now when we don't have enough consensus. I don't know, that's just a suggestion. I mean, we could, I guess I'm suggesting that we consider that, I mean, even if we do vote, it sounds like we could change our mind, but this motion amidst this conversation, it feels restrictive to what we're here to do, right? Like, it feels like we're putting a constraint on ourselves, if that makes sense. That's just how I'm.
So I would say if it's not a decision today, it's maybe a decision next month, but like for clarity for myself, for clarity for staff, the one reason for bringing a motion like this is so that we don't say every 2 months, should we do a search now? And then 2 months later, should we do a search now? That's hard on the staff side. I see staff members literally shaking their head right now when I look out.
Thank you.
I think I'm going to say an example of, we can't go back in time, but maybe if we did go back in time when I was hired, and if it wasn't an interim, I think what would have likely been stated was, we need a director with a skill set about stability, like what that means, what that looks like operationally. And maybe that's not the director that we want for longer than a couple of years or a few years, but that's the skill set that I brought, right? And that might not be what this commission wants 2 years from now, but I think, I say that to say that I think that this motion comes from a place of affirming that that is still where we are right now. And I want to link that to the clarity for, honestly, for myself. I'm speaking about my self-interest, right? Which is not your interest, and it's not the interest of the commission. But also for the staff, who, you know, the most recent 3 hires that I've been part of, right? Everyone says, all right, we're going to be working with you in 6 months from now, or are we not? Because I think Commissioner Cole, you know, the patterns, the research, is true. I believe that, right? Around perception, around different actions that are made on titles and things. And I think, you know, I will also acknowledge that because of my length of my tenure, I have kind of been operating in this like hybrid, I don't know that hybrid's the right word, but longer than a 7-month average interim period, right? And I don't think that when you all chose to hire me on January 17th, 2025, it was known what it would take to get to a place of wanting to have a different decision by means of identifying the leadership that this commission needs, right? So like at that time, the decision was the commission needs somebody who has the relationships and the knowledge and the ability to move the lines of business forward, right? And so I bring that back to say, like, this motion comes from saying, like, I shouldn't say we, because I'm not identifying, like, the people that have had this conversation, you know, including many of you who've reached out to me, including other partners, including other people that I won't name, right, it's coming from an acknowledgement of that is where we still are right now. And that means like the vision for a director might be different in 18 months, right? But this gives 2 more fiscal years, the one that we're currently in right now, and then the one FY28, right? It gives the staff 2 fiscal years to continue to shape our work, where we know that we're not going to be having leadership changes. So I just wanted to offer that if helpful, and yeah, I know that
I think that speaks to the season, to where we are, and that's something we've all talked about a good bit, is the season of where we are. In 2 years, we will find ourselves in a different season. But I want to also speak, not on behalf of you, Ashley, but just in the functional perspective of you have given this commission 18 months and your position after this. You know, I think that we owe it to this staff, we owe it to you, we owe it to the community to be able to say, it's exactly what you said, every 2 months, it's not something else. But coming from the inside out, I certainly can see the point. Now, who all has a heart out right now? Get close, yeah. Mm-hmm.
There are 3 hands, that's head table.
Commissioner Cole, then Commissioner Yu. That's surprising of it.
Commissioner Cole.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that, Director Batchelder, and I think that that's exactly why kicking off a search process matters with urgency. Everything that you just said, like the stopping and starting, the staff impact of stopping and starting a search. You mentioned your self-interest of like, am I here? Do I need to be looking for another work? What needs to happen? And you still have that those underlying questions. All of the data says that when you have an interim in place, because we still haven't established Ashley is the executive director. And I think starting a search process gives us that opportunity to have the continuity, the sustainability that we're saying we want. This motion says that for the next 18 months, we're going to stay in the gray. We're going to stay how we are, and then we're going to start this conversation all over again.
No.
With, if I may finish, instead of saying, hey, we have spent 18 months turning the ship, right? Making strides, improving based on where we were, doing Herculean work, improving the staff, performance, all of those things, grant process, all of that. And when I look at the minutes, listen to the meeting, even listening to the conversation today, again, to me, it feels like now actually is the right time, inclusive of you being a part of that process, for this commission to say we want a full-time, in-place executive director to lead this organization. And if that is you, Ashley, amazing. But I think we're still in this place of, and you mentioned this, the starting and stopping by saying, hey, we're going to pick this back up in 18 months, even if we're having conversations around coalescing, because it doesn't take 18 months to have conversations about coalescing. And the last thing I'll say is every organization within 2 years, with the way that AI is impacting the workforce and even beyond AI, just the way that the economy is, will look different in 2 years, even Fortune 500. So this idea that in 18 months we're going to look different, every organization is going to look different in 18 months. 18 months ago, you got companies that have gone through massive transitions. And so I think while I believe it's well-intentioned to consider where the staff and organization is at the handoff, I don't think that that's reason to pause the process to even identify what the handoff looks like for another 18 months.
I'd like to call the question.
Well, is Commissioner you?
One sec. Commissioner,
Well, just
Miss,
If you were, I think you did. So
I did acknowledge
Commissioner Hughes.
Commissioner Yu, so you're in line, and then you're in line.
okay. This is just quick. Following Commissioner Jester's conversation in regards of the dysfunctional and the restorative process of all this couple of years, I think to me, or for me, it's important to hear also or to know or have a feedback from the staff before Ashley and now about in this case from Ashley, what will they think about the process and what this works, or what do they think about improving, because they are the ones working with the director, and that will help a lot when I don't know, I know it's HR too, but just maybe internally for all of you to have a feedback from each or survey from the staff will help when it comes to the, what do they think about the process, or ideas from them too, and from us, because we can say, oh, this person is right, or that is what we think. But what about the staff? Because if the staff doesn't get along well, like before, I think it's going to go back to that problem, dysfunctional issue. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Yu. I could, if you don't mind, I can speak to that just a bit. I did staff interviews with the team leads for Ashley's review. And I do believe that we've had a few staff members send out full commission emails to us about their experience working here currently, what it was like prior to where things are now, and why an extended period of deferring the search benefits the staff and their work in addition to the commission. Does that help answer, Evan? Yeah. You're nodding your head. I was like, oh, okay, you got something? Okay. I forget where I was. Commissioner Jester, I'm sorry.
I think we've all made really good points. I just think we've passed the point of changing hearts and minds, and so I'd like to call the question.
Thank you. All in favor of calling the question? Aye.
People know what that is.
Does everybody know what call the question means?
Point of order, yeah, so.
Yeah.
Point of order.
Yes, calling the question means it's a motion to cut off debate. So really, you need a second on your calling the question, and then you would debate whether to call the question, whether to cut off debate.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Okay. You can.
I mean,
Is it-
I'll be honest, I'm not sure if I don't know if I feel ready to vote on this motion. I know we're having a lot of conversation and sorry, I just feel like there's more conversation to be had, and I realize that time is an issue, that happens here a lot. But yeah, I don't know. That's how I feel. But
Thank you, Commissioner Harden. I'm looking around.
Yeah,
Greer or-
Oh, no, you go first. I have nothing to say.
Yeah, I wonder about the options to defer the motion. I do think this is very important, but some information I feel like would be helpful to even determine, like, the best timeline is, we're talking about the timeline of how much internal preparation we need. I'm thinking about also the timeline to onboard someone new. Like, I do agree, like, with the assessment, like, Ashley, you came in at a time of, like, intense dysfunction, and so, you know, to also be onboarding someone new while you're, you know, there may be overlap, but still, you don't want it to be in a position where, you know, somebody has, deliverables right away, and that's very challenging. And then also, you know, a timeline that feels secure for you because you are holding a lot of work and also meaningful for the staff. And so I just think there's getting some information points to align on all those timelines is helpful. And I hear you, Commissioner Cole, on saying 18 months maybe feels or seems a bit arbitrary. Perhaps we can, you know, have some more rationale behind that to bring this back to the table another time or the next month, you know?
Thank you, I heard, and I want us to keep in mind just a few functional logistical things. August is all grants. We will not be having this meeting in August. I mean, we will, but we won't have the time. We're gonna have an extensive grants meeting, so I want us to.
we're supposed to debate just to call the question right now. Yeah. Sorry.
We're just debating calling the question.
So if we debate calling the question, we're just saying we want to move forward with debate, or we do not?
We go into the vote.
We vote on the motion.
Voting no would mean I want to keep talking. Voting yes means we're done talking. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I vote yes. I vote that we stop talking.
Well, not, deliberation is the word, yes.
Okay.
Talking.
We're
Let's
stopping talking.
Yeah, let's stop talking.
Okay. So, Commissioner Brown, you're voting in favor of calling the question.
You're voicing your support.
Should we roll call?
I was just going to say, if you think the debate on calling the question has concluded, you can go ahead and have the vote on whether to call the question.
Yes, vote on call the question. Mm-hmm.
This is for the call to question. West,
I'm sorry.
yeah. Yes means you want to stop the conversation. No means you don't. You want to keep going. So, Commissioner West,
Yes.
Commissioner Harden,
No.
Commissioner Lefkowitz,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown. If you could just repeat it for me.
Yeah. Yes.
Commissioner Cole.
Can I ask a question? Are we voting on stopping the conversation at this point?
Yes.
Or for the future?
Right now.
Right now. Oh, yes.
Greer. Jester.
Yes.
Khalil,
Yes.
Knight is absent. You,
Yes.
the conversation is to end.
Thank you. So we are back to the motion of defer beginning the search for an executive director for a period no less than 18 months. Vivian, can you roll call again?
Roll call.
I need a second.
Vote. We already have a second.
We're on it, so,
We
yeah.
already have a second, so I can do
Can you roll
the,
call it?
for the vote.
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Commissioner West,
Yes.
Commissioner Harden,
No.
Commissioner Lefkowitz,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
No.
Commissioner Cole,
No.
Commissioner Greer. No. Commissioner Jester,
Yes.
Commissioner Khalil,
Yes.
Commissioner Yu,
No.
the noes have it. The motion does not pass.
Motion does not pass.
Do you have comments to the motion after the motion? No? Okay.
Laura?
I think you're back to having debate on your original motion.
All right. Okay.
I will say that I was hopeful that we could defer this because I feel like there needs to be more clarity and conversation. So that's why I voted no. Yeah, and I realize that.
Comment, I'll get it. Yeah.
No, I just, I felt like sharing because I did vote to bring this to us today. So, yeah.
Ms. Fox?
I'm sorry, I don't know what the question is.
I have a question. So where we are now, are we at a point that someone could put forth a motion to postpone this conversation?
Sure, somebody can make a motion like that.
I need to, but I want to also check with Ashley because your employment's on the line too. So,
I think because the motion failed,
Yeah.
like, there is no, we're
There's
just at the
nothing.
same spot where we were before the meeting began, right?
so,
Yeah, I'm sorry because that's not the thing that I don't think we want is for your employment to be at hand, right? Like it's more so about the conversation around how long it takes for this thing to happen, right? 18 months, I agree, is a very long time for us to get an executive director, a permanent executive director in place. That is my only concern here. If it's Ashley, cool, right? But let's talk about getting the executive director in place and making it happen less than 18 months. That is my only no rationale here. And I'm sorry that we're not supposed to say why we voted no for rationale, but I want to make a point that it's not of Ashley's, like I'm not voting against you, okay? I just want to make that known.
Commissioner Cole?
Yeah, same. I think this whole conversation has been about the search. Now, the information that was just shared is new information in terms of, I guess, your timeline for employment. I'm not aware of that, so I don't know if you want to add more color or if this is the space for that. That was new. Chair West just mentioned that. I would like to move that we amend the motion or make a new motion. First, that the interim appointment be extended through a specific date that is certain, to give us time for this body to convene, to pass along a clear vision to the HR team. And second, that we appoint a search committee or a body to bring back a timeline for the full commission at our next meeting, even if that means we have to make adjustments to the grant timeline, agenda, et cetera. Because I believe that this conversation is important. I think that while, yes, there's work that needs to happen and there are timelines, I think that we do need to be intentional about what the decision was just made, what that means for like future conversations, so we're not 3 months down the road and kind of trying to remember what we said here today.
Can we take action like that? I'm just or do we need to add that to? new business.
I got a question. Is Ashley leaving if after this meeting? Is she like, are you done? I'm confused. Okay.
Just want to make sure I understand the motion and offer any clarification. Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, Director Hall.
Okay. I just want to make sure I understand the motion, and I just want to offer clarification. When we talk about the timeline and the process, for doing the actual search, and I want to make sure I'm really clear about this. If the motion is the process and timeline by which you guys come to consensus about when the general time frame you'd like to do the search is, I completely agree that's with the commission. That makes sense to me. But I want to be clear, when we start the search is typically a collaborative. Like, you guys can't say, you're going to do it right now, because if we can't do it, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, but no, you are a priority. Like, I made this so clear in the executive committee. Like, I've worked with a number of commissioners over the years. You all are a priority. So we can generally work in a general time frame that will be mutually agreeable both for the commission and for HR. And that we likely have the capacity to do that when you guys are generally ready to do that. And then the actual steps within the process, we have a very well-established process. So it wouldn't be, the search committee wouldn't have to be like, well, we want it like this, and we want it like that. That is actually something we have a well-established process for. So what I didn't want to do is leave, like, I want to make sure that I understood the motion. Like, a lot of those are things we'll walk you through, we'll customize to meet your need. But the actual steps within the recruitment itself is really going to be driven by us, and we're going to collaborate to make sure we can customize within our steps within our process. But if the motion is about a timeline and a process and a committee that helps bring the commission in alignment about the pre-steps to that, that makes sense to me. And I'm not sure what the intent of the motion was, but I wanted to clarify depending on what you were talking about on process and timeline. Does that make sense?
Yes, Director Hall, it does. And it was more of the latter, just so that everyone around the table feels clear around the direction that we're giving. But I think you've been abundantly clear that there's not, and I'm summarizing what you said in my language. It's not an extra weight on staff or team to start this process, because there is a clear framework and steps that you all take in collaboration with this commission to make sure it's done right. We have the capability, the capacity, all of that. So we're not like figuring out everything from scratch.
No, actually, very little. I think when we talk about building consensus about alignment, I mean, that is a really great word. Alignment among the commission about what they're looking for out of the next executive director. That kind of alignment. And then we're really customizing parts of like our marketing pieces, right? The job functions and duties I don't expect to change significantly in the information that I shared with the commission. What I think is when you guys are coming to alignment about the type of person, someone who's more process driven, someone that's more community stakeholder, it is likely a combination of those things. That's really going to shape, and we're going to shape like marketing pieces and our outreach to really say, this is the type of dynamic leader we are looking for with these skill sets and qualities that help to perform the functions and duties that are already outlined in that. So the actual functional job description I provided you, I expect to change very little, because that is what the job does. But how you practice that work and making sure there's alignment and vision between what the commission's looking for and the executive director that can help really actualize that, that's the magic sauce of success between the commission. So that's the kind of coalescing that I know that, and I wanted to really highlight that, because I agree, that kind of alignment from the commission, I'm not sure if you guys are there, but that work does need to occur before we start the search process for you. So, thank you.
Thank you, Director Hall. That helps explain why the 18 months was landed on within the executive committee. Okay. we are well past our 3 o'clock, so
Did we answer the question around the end of employment? Because that was brought up, but no clarity was given. I guess, or did we misunderstand?
I didn't understand your question, I'm sorry.
You made a comment about Ashley's employment that we weren't aware of, so could you clarify, I guess, what was meant by that?
So Ashley came to us from MHRC. Do you know okay. So with that, I think that we should be conscious to anyone that would be extending their interim employment that, yeah, I can't speak on behalf of Ashley. But.
Does your interim employment contract end, like?
I do not have a contract with y'all.
Okay.
I could quit at any time. You
Anytime.
could decide that you want something else at any time, right? This is a non-civil service position.
Right.
It's different than my old position. It's different than every other position in our department, which are civil service, which are bound to processes and procedure and rules. And so if you have questions about my specific employment with Metro, I'd probably prefer to talk about that offline. But I am on a leave from my civil service position elsewhere, and I am your at-will employee, which does not change with any, the director is always your at-will employee. Yeah.
We are into the executive director evaluation. That being said, who's got a heart out? Because I sort of do, but I can push. I know you do. You got a heart out. Okay. So I guess where we are is on item, I gotta get my right glasses.
Still within the executive committee.
Still under executive committee. The evaluation. Yes. So you all should have received Ashley's evaluation in your email, her self-evaluation. Please let me know if you would like specifics that were given to me. I'm not going to name any staff members by name or what have you, but we did have the full executive committee, and then I interviewed each team lead, and I'll just run through the basics. The executive committee conducts the annual evaluation of the ED each year. The evaluation is based on Director Batchelder's self-evaluation, individual feedback submitted by each committee member, and input from Metro Arts team leads. So that being said, strengths. Steady, stabilizing leadership that has been adaptive and relational through extended period of heavy workload, organizational transition. Strong grant management and public community outreach, including consistent positive feedback from artists and members of the public about her responsiveness and accessibility. I'm going to throw something in there on my own that, and I've heard this from people around, so many people have said great things about Ashley. Artists in the community, when she doesn't even know that they're there, they are speaking great things on behalf of Ashley leading the organization. The things that we have been asking for as a commission for years, Ashley has gone above and beyond to the repair, from organizational repair to financial repair to staff repair. And I kept hearing that you're the bringer of joy. I heard that from across the board. I heard from 2 staff members that if Ashley weren't here leading this interim situation, that they actually wouldn't have taken this job. So I have that as well. Successful onboarding of several new staff. And one thing that I really liked hearing was that you really help people understand the what and why. And you have a commitment to the hands-on piece of it, but you're not overbearing. I think that's exceptional in a leader. Growth areas, noted the need for better delegation of like operational tasks to avoid burnout. But obviously we all kind of know that has been rather difficult the last few years. Overall, the committee emphasized the value of the work that Director Batchelder has carried and moved forward in the last year as foundational for the repair and successes that we have had over the last 18 months, along with her really talented staff. She came into a major stall operationally, staff vacancies, and directly into grant cycles. You have run 4 grant cycles in a period of 18 months. So if anybody has questions about the last 18 months, I mean, we can see where the work has been done. For the first full cycle, you managed that with staff assistants, but no grants manager, along with repairing all these relationships in the community and at council and all the things. So I just want you to know that that was what was said to me from commissioners in our meeting, our exec meeting, and then what each of you wrote is also on record. So if anybody needs that, I can get that to you. Regarding your self-evaluation in 18 months, Ashley has you've accomplished more than we could have anticipated. The stabilization, the consistency that you've brought, the joy and the intention you bring to the staff, to our commission, to the community in general. I mean, I guess I'm an old timer here, but it's like night and day. And I really believe that because of your interim and stepping up, that 18 months ago, 20 months ago, I don't even know how we would be here right now. So know that from me, and know that from the commissioners that sent letters on your behalf. There is not a vote on this. The executive committee has accepted it. So considering that we're short on time, if anyone has anything that they would like to add, it is in your email. But I cannot say enough about why the 18 months, why it has taken 18 months to get to here, and your review really, really explains that. So I'm sorry that stutter. Y'all, I got the wrong glasses today, so I can't see anyway.
Well, you can borrow mine.
Are yours a 3? Okay, so we've already gone through Public Art Committee. Grants and funding, I'm gonna move to Chair Lefkowitz for your committee report, please.
Just very quickly, we did not.
Sorry, June and July.
Yep. We didn't meet. I know Jackie's here. Do you want to run up real quick, just like super quick? But we have one slide. Because we haven't met in a couple of months, Jackie's prepared this helpful overview of where we are, because they've been super busy. And also there is information which you will share about the grant panels, which I want to really invite you to come if you can. I want to encourage you to come. So can you just real quick, super quick?
Please review and follow up with us. I just want to thank, because this has been a huge effort from a lot of folks. I'll just say, yes, to highlight that we will talk more. Our committee meets on Monday. Next month, as a reminder, we really want to emphasize commission attendance for grants approvals. And then lastly, if you would like to come, which again, we encourage you to come for panel days, that's next Wednesday and Thursday, the 29th and 30th here. Please make sure you let Vivian know the time window that you'd like to come. That affects both food and just other logistical pieces we'll need to get in line.
2 people are not in the same
open meetings act.
We'll work that all out, but that's all I'll say for now. But I welcome any other questions. Really happy to get into the weeds about this. And I'm going to end by saying thank you to all the people that have gone into this, as Ashley said, monumental effort, and find me another time.
Thank you, Jackie.
Can I get a quick raise of hands for the next commission meeting? Because I know some are about to leave.
And the next commission meeting, again, that's the one where we vote and we excuse ourselves, where Commissioner Brown excuses
the dates.
Sorry. So
The 19th.
August 19th.
August
Will be
19th.
the funding decision, and we'll send the information for you to review several weeks prior.
Yes.
19.
Yes.
super important.
Okay.
Jill's out.
Wish I could.
Do it.
Are you a yes? Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner
Yes.
Brown. We need 6.
Okay. Okay. Yes, yes. Jester?
Tim, are you here for all? Yeah, he's here. So just Jill out. Okay, last thing for advocacy, I'm going to move to Chair Cole for your committee report for June and July, because we did not have a June commission meeting.
Yes, and we didn't have a meeting in June. So our last meeting, we're still aligning on, our last meeting was actually more so around the budget. Thank you to the commissioners that came to that. Director Batchelder and team did a phenomenal job. Darius as well. His video was phenomenal. And we look forward to seeing you all at our next meeting, still aligning on purpose and objectives, but we look forward to continuing that conversation at the next meeting.
When is your next meeting?
Yeah, so I think I'm looking at Vivian to see if you've gotten RSVPs from everyone.
Okay, gotcha. I'm trying to keep as much on my calendar as I can, but
Well, we have our August meeting is our standard meeting. We were trying to figure out if we were going to reschedule the July.
The date for Tuesday next week, I believe, is the 28th. That's correct.
If I can get a confirmed yes from everyone,
That's our
then I can confirm that meeting. You did. I just needed to confirm
Yes.
from you two. So yes. Okay.
Yeah, Director Batchelder reached out to me, so that
Okay.
date's good.
So I'll put that on the calendar now.
Okay.
The 28th. Yes.
It's a reschedule.
Can I go? Oh, sorry. No, I misinterpreted a pause.
Ashley, yes.
I just want to make sure that I get a few things in before we lose quorum. Y'all should be thinking about leadership roles. I wrote this in a. Okay.
No, I'm not doing a chair's report.
Okay. So you should let me know because y'all can't talk to each other outside of meetings. If you are potentially interested in our leadership roles, which is chair, vice chair, secretary, it is that time of year when we have those conversations and have an election. You appoint the leadership. And so that's done through our nominating committee that does the administrative work on that. Our bylaws direct us to convene the nominating committee in August next month. So our nominating committee is Commissioner Hardin and Commissioner Jester. You should reach out to me so that I can bring that information to the committee if you are potentially interested. Chair, vice chair, secretary. I'm also happy to talk one-on-one with what that has looked like, what it could look like. I know that I've had those conversations with some people, but I encourage you to see yourself in a leadership role and think about that. And then it is you as a commission that makes those votes. And so new officers begin the chair begins on November, and new committee assignments are in January. So the benefit of being the chair is that the chair makes committee appointments. So also be thinking about, do you like the committee that you're on? Do you potentially want to change the committee that you're on? I've heard from some of you on that as well, though not everyone. So the terms for our three roles that I just named are 2 years. So the terms are 1 year, and they can be reappointed for a second consecutive year. So.
And you need to have served on the commission for 1 year.
To be eligible for the chair, you must have been on the commission for a period of 1 year. The other positions do not have that criteria. So not everyone is eligible to be chair, but everyone is eligible for vice chair or secretary. Those three leadership roles are also members of the executive committee as well. So any questions, information I can tell you right now while we're all together about those three roles or process. So the nominating committee will convene in August and ideally put together a slate of 3 positions. And we can have friendly competition as well, right? If 2 people want to be the vice chair, that is a decision that you make as the body, right? So that is totally possible as well. And then in September is when we had that on the agenda for that to be a vote. So any questions about chair, vice chair, secretary?
We lost a member of our grants committee, but we
replace that person, that role, right? We just have 3.
We talked about reappointing mid-year if somebody had dropped off. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we had talked about appointing mid-year, but we
We will definitely need another commissioner on the grants committee for our next year. And so, again, I've heard from some of you.
Do you mean this year, like sooner than later, or do you mean? Sorry, do you mean this year or like next, like in January?
In January for sure, if not sooner, but yeah, I guess I'm not clearly answering. I believe that we can, according to the bylaws, appoint commissioners to committees mid-term if the situation warrants such, which it does. And so if you are interested in being on the grants committee, also please let me know. It is one of the best ways to learn about the operations of our department, to put it that way. So if you have any questions about what it looks like on our side, the grants committee is a great place to come join us.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Ashley, in your report?
I'll just leave it there for purpose of time.
Any new business for next meeting?
Here you go.
Sorry. Any new business for next meeting?
I have next month's meetings
Is it grants meeting?
set for grants is August 10th. Advocacy is August 11th. Executive is August 12th. Public art is August 13th. And then the most important meeting of August will be our commission meeting on August the 19th, which I've already gotten my yeses for that, so.
Thank you, Vivian.
I would.
Okay, with that, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
I think we have a comment here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think I was interested in bringing back today's discussion, but considering what's already on the agenda for August, I'm like,
A special meeting?
Yeah, I was gonna say, we can set a special meeting.
yeah, I mean, if we can get numbers, I think that would be worth it, just to discuss what, the director search and next steps and alignment for commission. I think all of that in one meeting would be helpful.
I was wondering if instead of a separate meeting, an additional hour allotted, unless we think it will be more than an hour, to a meeting that's already in existence, or is a special meeting a better way to go? That was just a question.
My opinion is to keep grants on its own, just because it'll help us on our side preparing for it. My opinion.
Can special meetings be virtual?
No, none.
No, unfortunately, no committee and no commission meeting, that will be virtual. Yes, I'm sorry, I should repeat that. No, meetings can be virtual in the world of Metro. My mic was off.
I mean,
Would you like to send out a doodle?
well, one person is saying an 11 to 3 o'clock commission meeting. We haven't had one of those in years, though it used to be the norm. I mean, August 12th is 1 week prior to commission. We could do in lieu of executive committee, perhaps.
I would be okay with that. Sorry. I would be okay with that.
I could also do that.
Would it be 2 or?
So the time of the executive committee is 2 o'clock. If we want to pull all commissioners' availability for that, and I want to specify, it would be a special called commission meeting. It's not an executive committee meeting because non-committee members are not able to participate.
Could we look at a different date?
Different date.
What about the 26th after? You want to do it before the full commission meeting?
Yeah, we can't do but back to back in August, like grants and this. I think everybody would be so burned out by then.
Well, so we're talking about
I'm talking about after.
After.
After the 20, if you're keeping it on Wednesday, the 26th.
I can do that.
Can I get a raise of hand? What's the time? It'll probably be 1 to 3.
26. What's going on that way?
So I'd like to find out Sean's availability, Commissioner Knight's availability too, because he's on I'd like to find out Commissioner Knight's availability because he's on executive as well.
Maybe we do.
Can I just get
You
two
do.
time slots so then I can give him something? So I'm going to him with something, so 11 a.m. start time or 1 o'clock start time,
Either one.
but on the 26th.
Either one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does that not work?
Does that not work for y'all?
Special. Yeah.
And we tend to look at Wednesdays because the IT team is really busy on other days. So that's why we often say, how about Wednesday? How about Wednesday?
Okay.
I will do my best.
It's just such a long meeting with the.
It's exhausting, yeah.
Well, you know, with all the excusals and.
And for the staff, I want us to always think about,
I'm going to send out conflict of interest forms. Those will go out by the beginning of next week. No. Okay.
You will get them before then, but they're not prepared yet. Based on where we are in the grant cycle. So you will get everything. You will get everything before grants committee, which is August the 10th. We plan to send the packet out, including the conflict of interest forms, no later than August the 6th. I believe that's the Thursday. Our goal is earlier than that, if possible, but we do not have. Our panels are happening on the 30th, so that gives us essentially from the 31st through the 6th to turn everything around into a funding recommendation package for you. So we'll try to get it to you before the 6th, but by the 6th at no later than that, August the 6th.
okay. Thank you, everyone. Motion to adjourn. Thank you, everybody. And thank you to our Metro HR and to Metro Legal.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.